Howdy folks, it's Scanner here. It's been a while since I've done a video on the channel, but you can expect some more coming over the weeks and months, I hope, as I find more time for this kind of activity and I have some stuff that I want to say. In this video, you'll be seeing me kind of sped up painting my Stargrave crew. They are called the Church of the Repentant Machine. They are kit-bashed Kodor and Adeptus Mechanicus models, and I really like them. I'm using the Army Painter speed paints for the first time to trial them out too, and yeah, that's what's going to be in the background. What I want to talk about today is inspired by a video done by Discourse, who is one of the main reasons why I've actually kind of come back to content creation in this way. A lot of you won't quite realize that a lot of my job is to oversee content creation, so content creation in my spare time isn't something that always interests me to do. But there's a lot to talk about in the hobby space, and I've finally figured out what I want my tone and my voice to be and all the rest of it, and who I want to acknowledge and who I don't want to acknowledge, and all that kind of stuff, because this is supposed to be a reasonable amount of fun and part-time humor for me, and I don't want to get sucked into all the bullshit basically that can go on in the hobby space. I don't want anything got to do with it. And so I'm back and I'm hopefully focused. So what I want to talk about today is why Games Workshop give away so much free stuff. Like, it seems really obvious, but I don't think people always put two and two together, and I don't think people always appreciate and understand the impact that this can have on YouTube and on the mini gaming hobby and the wargaming hobby and the miniature hobby and the painting hobby and all the rest of it, just the whole kit and caboodle. Discourse did an excellent video. I will link it in the description below, that kind of dropped whilst I was thinking about all this stuff. So first I was like, oh, I don't need to say anything now. Discourse has said really good stuff here. But now I'm thinking that maybe another voice in the dark wouldn't hurt. So that's what I'm going to do. So first of all, let's talk about Games Workshop and who they are and what they are. They're obviously the biggest company in the gaming space, and whilst I am very specifically talking about Games Workshop in this video just for the sake of the theme, this applies to any company that gives away a lot of free stuff. This applies to gaming companies, to clothing companies, to fragrance companies, to electronics companies, to Apple, to Microsoft, to everybody, every company that exists now. This applies to them. And the reason I know this is because I used to work in this area in companies of that scale, doing this kind of thing, doing this kind of PR and marketing stuff and running all the analytics behind it and seeing what worked and seeing what didn't work and all the rest of it. That was my career for a very long time, and that is what kind of the video is about. I'm using Games Workshop as a very specific example. Then we need to identify what we were talking about with regard to influencers. And when it comes to influencers, what I mean is anybody with social media who is deemed to influence public opinion in a specific area. And in this case, you guessed it, we are talking about mini painters, war gamers, people who make battle reports, anybody who has a channel and produces content around the hobby, whatever that content might be. Maybe they're just like me and they sit here with lazy, low quality videos, or maybe they are the people who do the highest end, extremely kind of technical and dedicated to cinematography and all the rest of it videos that are out there. Literally anybody, even if they only have a Twitter account and all they do is tweet, it doesn't matter. Influencers are influencers, and that's what we're talking about. So, first of all, we got to talk about what Games Workshop are doing and all these other companies, I guess, and that is giving away free stuff. And I mean free stuff, like lots of free stuff. The amount of free stuff that's actually been given away has, from what I can tell, anecdotally, gone up over the years quite considerably. And I don't just mean there's more influencers to give stuff to. There's actually a lot more stuff being produced. There's a lot more stuff being dropped off in one go. Look at the amount of stuff that was given away at the start of the Horus Heresy. That was an insane amount of stuff. I was seeing people thanking Games Workshop for the main box and for all the vehicles and for pretty much everything that they released. They got a version of it, at least one version of it. And they were like, oh, thanks so much, Games Workshop, for like fucking all this stuff, which is like wild to me that none of them seem to actually question the impact that this is having upon themselves. But we're about to do that today. Let's start asking questions. So, first thing we got to do is we got to run through the known impact of free stuff. All this stuff is so easy to look up. It's so easy to find papers on like PubMed and stuff like that that will like back all this shit up, to be honest. So let's talk about why free stuff works. And the first reason that free stuff is very, very good is that it makes me feel good about the item itself when I'm given something free. This is pretty universal. You're not special. Your favorite YouTubers aren't special. They're not some kind of fucking mega mind that is completely immune to the impacts and effects of free things. They are a human being. They have the same psychological development as everybody else. And when they get given free stuff, it affects them in very specific ways. One of the ways is to make them feel good about the item itself. When you are given something for free, you like it. You like the item. You are like, ooh, this item was free. I like this item for some reason, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know why. I prefer this particular hammer that was given to me as a gift over this hammer that I paid $75 for. But whenever I have to do some hammering, I reach for the free one, and I don't know why. It's because you were given it for free. You have a positive association with the item itself, because what the item kind of freeness implies, it doesn't imply that the item has no value. It implies that you have more value than the people who have to pay for the item. This is a really subtle and important aspect of the whole thing. It's like, oh, I am special because I got the free thing. And you need to be a pretty grounded, solid ego to not let that shit run away with you sometimes, or indeed all the time. Some people sit there and they think, oh, I get sent all this free stuff. It's because I'm amazing. It's because I'm better than the average hobbyist who does not get free stuff, who has to pay. And while it may not be massively overt, it does sit in the back of people's minds that this is the reason why they get their free things. So that's the first thing it makes you do. It makes you feel good about the item, and it makes you feel good about yourself in relation to why you got the item. Super interesting. After that, it makes you less demanding of the item. So not only do you already feel good about the item, but you also expect less from the item than you would if you paid for it. That's kind of a double barrel knock-on effect right there. You're going to be super positive about it, and you're going to demand less of it than you would had you actually paid. That's fantastic. Surely you're going to think good things about the item. You're starting to see the problem here with review systems and how they work, and why it normally takes a very seasoned person to kind of avoid the impact of all this influence. But yes, you will be less demanding of the item, and this has been proven over and over again. There was one very fun study that used burgers. It used like a premium burger and a free burger, and even though people had to pay a very small amount for the premium burger, which was vastly superior to the free burger, they rated the free burger higher because the free burger was free. They just didn't expect anything really from the free burger, as long as it didn't turn into a head crab and try and eat their brain or something. They were like, oh yeah, this was better because it was free. And it's super interesting to see how that happens. The third impact of free stuff is also very interesting. It makes you feel good about the person who gave you the free stuff. It's not just that they gave you something free, it's that they chose you. They are into you, and as a result, you end up being kind of into them as well. You get overall positive identifications with the brand itself, not just with the very particular item that they were trying to give you. So that's quite the impact of free stuff. And we are expected, like, people legitimately think that we are so silly that we will sit here and think that Games Workshop and all these other companies can give out all this free stuff and it has no impact on things. People sit there and go, oh yeah, they sent me this for free, but they don't expect anything of me. They don't need to expect anything from you. The mechanics are stacked against you. You're a human being with a human brain. You work the same way as everybody else works. Literally, the few occasions where this might not have some kind of impact on people are the people who have been doing this for a very, very, very long time. Veteran content creators will do a much better job of being immune to these kind of impacts and effects and all the rest of it than smaller, newer channels, people who have been in the mix for a long time, who have already settled into themselves, who have achieved their level of success and are now very competent and confident in how they view themselves in relation to the hobby and their place in hobby content creation. So there's your cheat sheet, basically, when it comes to like believing that people are on the up and up. Generally speaking, the longer they've been around, the less impacted that they will be by all this kind of stuff. And that's not to say that there's any vindictiveness in people who are impacted by it. It's not. They're just, essentially, they're young in the game. That's all it actually is. Now, this is the sticky wicket. People will always say, hey guys, Games Workshop or XYZ company sent me this item, but I'm not being paid or anything like that. Here's, frankly, where I call absolute dog shit on that. As I said, I oversee content creation all day via assorted mediums, like across websites, across YouTube channels, across social media accounts that are seen by hundreds of millions of people on a monthly basis. Of course, they're getting rewarded with money. They're just not saying that because it's not obvious. Games Workshop are not paying them a fee. They're not saying like, oh, you know, here's $500 to put this on your channel and feature it. But what they are doing is giving them preferential early access to something that has a baked in audience that they are then allowed to get a jump on when it comes to creating the content. So the day all the public reveals happens, their videos are going live well ahead of absolutely anybody else's, and they're sucking up a boatload of views. Like, that's worth a lot of money to be able to do that, and to be able to do that consistently. Imagine being able to do that with literally every Games Workshop release. It's a big advantage. It's an easy way to stack up the cash, because Games Workshop sends you you know, a new model, and you paint up the model and you have that good to go day one, the day it's announced. You have your, oh, here's how I painted it, or, you know, here's a tutorial on this, that, or the other. It doesn't really matter what it is. Whatever your niche is, you can lean into your niche and you can do that, and you can be way ahead of the game. You can be hoovering up your content or your views for your content from the jump. And YouTube really likes that, yo. YouTube, far more than any of the other Google algorithms, YouTube will lean into the idea that your content is never outdated. I say that from experience. I have videos on my channel about certain games that have like 250,000 views and get steady views. Even though they're 7 or 8 years old, they're absolutely outdated now. They still get steady views. YouTube just funnels people at this old content, right? Because it has a lot of views and it has what's deemed to be authority on that subject over things that came after it. So yes, Games Workshop are 100% rewarding people with money, and everybody knows it. They just have a hard time saying it, because it's like ceding a lot of control to Games Workshop. You're essentially saying that a large part of my financial success is reliant on my relationship with Games Workshop and being able to get this stuff early, and I would really like it if you would not cut me off. And it makes stuff awkward in public, because then people are going, well, you told me there wasn't any monetary reward, but clearly there actually is. It's just being done in a kind of an underhand way, which sucks ever so slightly. And just to segue, those Army Painter colors are going on beautifully over the dry rushing, it has to be said. It looks so good. Right. The last bit, because this video is actually starting to drag out quite a lot. This is what the entire thing is about, right? At the end of the day, this is what it all boils down to. This is the most important thing for Games Workshop. It costs absolutely shit all for Games Workshop to send let's say a YouTube or something. Let's say I'm working with Games Workshop. They send me a copy of the upcoming Kill Team box set. They're like, yeah, there's a new Kill Team box set. Here you go, scanner. Here's your copy. It's almost baked in as a guarantee that my content will inspire two people to purchase it. in which case they're already on their profit. But that's not why they're doing it. It's not that it generates sales. It's not really about generating sales. And I know that sounds contradictory. At this point, what it's about for these companies is about filling up the space that influencers can actually provide, taking as much of the bandwidth between the influencer and their audience as possible and denying that to somebody else. Because if I go out and I spend $100 on Relic Blade, or $100 on Infinity, or $100 on a Command game or something like that, that's $100 that's gone into the economy around the hobby that isn't into Games Workshop's pockets. And that's what they're actually fighting against at the moment. That's what they're trying to dominate. As the marketplace leader, as the biggest kind of, you know, they've got all the brick and mortar stores that they've got, like hundreds and hundreds of shops around the world. They've got their own production, they've got all their designers, they've got their big offices, they've got everything that they need to dominate. It would be incredibly easy for something else to kind of sneak past all that, almost like sneaking into Mordor, and go viral. Suddenly you've got a new game that's absolutely 100% everywhere based on just the merit of the game itself. And whilst that might seem highly unlikely to happen based off the years and years and years of marketing and marketplace dominance that Games Workshop have actually put in, the reason why they have all that marketplace dominance is because they don't rest on their laurels. They are weirdly aggressive in the marketplace because it's a business at the end of the day. So that's what they do. They fill up YouTube channels, they fill up Twitters, they fill up Instagrams. Everybody gets hyper engagement because everybody wants to see the Games Workshop stuff. They have no interest in the other stuff, and it becomes a vicious cycle. That's why Games Workshop give away so much free stuff. Mountains and mountains and mountains of free stuff. It's about denying opportunity to competition more than anything else. And it's a super smart business practice, don't get me wrong. And I'm not here judging the people who do a lot of Games Workshop content. I'm kind of past that. I understand why you would do it. I understand people want to make their living from this kind of hobby space and all that kind of stuff. I'm not judging anybody who does it. But if we are going to be here and if we are going to be talking about things, we're definitely going to talk about the reality of them. And we're not going to let this kind of, oh, you know, there's no monetary reward for me from Games Workshop, when we know there is, and that it doesn't have any kind of negative or chilling effect on the hobby space, when we know that it does. You are, at the end of the day, being paid to deny access and deny coverage and deny promotion to what Games Workshop perceives as their competition. And that's really what it boils down to. So there's my weird thoughts for the day, folks. I hope this video finds you well. I hope you enjoy whatever aspect of the hobby you jump into, or whatever aspect of the hobby you avoid this weekend, so you can go and like see Thor Love and Thunder or something. I don't know you. I don't know your life. I don't know what you're doing. But have fun. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Get mad if you want to get mad. Expand if you want to expand. Or contradict if you want to contradict. I'm all gravy either way. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and have a good day.